Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really going deep. We're not just talking about success, but disruptive success. How do you go from just being competent, good at your job, to becoming the player?
That's the core question, isn't it? And for this deep dive, we're drawing on some really potent insights from excerpts of The Player, Strategy for Disruptive Success. We want to unpack the mindset, the strategies, and honestly, the sheer determination that sets these individuals apart. And it's broader than just business, really. It's about a, let's say, highly strategic approach to life's biggest goals.
Exactly. So first up, we need to define this key difference. What separates a player from the player? Then we'll explore how they spot those chances for disruption and, crucially, how they actually execute the strategy to make their mark. And let me tell you, the source material has some pretty surprising, maybe even startling examples for us. So yeah, get ready. Okay, so let's unpack this first big idea. The source gives us this clear distinction. A player versus the player. What's the difference?
Well, the source uses a pretty good analogy, actually. Yeah. Think about college graduation. Being a player. That's like getting your degree.
Yeah.
You did what was required, right? You're competent, you're ready to go out there, maybe lead. You finished the courses, met the standards. But, and this is the key point the source makes, you could be top of your class, valedictorian even, without ever really impacting anyone else's life in a big way, or actively wanting people to follow you. You just, ace the requirements.
Right. So a player masters the game as it exists. They're excellent within the rules. But the player, they operate on a whole different level. And then the source just drops this frankly jaw-dropping example, El Chapo's jailbreak.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some impulsive, daring escape, was it? It suggests something way more complex.
Oh, absolutely. What's staggering is the sheer scale and the meticulous planning. I mean, the source details how people literally risked their lives, not just digging a tunnel, but a crosstown tunnel. Right to his cell. They wired it with streetlights. They had a fueled motorbike waiting inside. Think about that. All this major construction happening right under the noses of national security, completely undetected.
Wow.
And the source stresses this wasn't quick. It wasn't an overnight thing. It implies El Chapo had loyalists in every establishment and level, people willing to execute this incredibly costly, time-consuming, high-risk plan for him.
So it's not just the escape itself, which is audacious enough. It's the layers of planning, the command of resources, the incredible loyalty built over time. That's what the source uses this extreme example to define as the player.
Exactly. That combination, the multi-layered plan, the command over serious resources, and pulling it off through this network of devoted followers. That's the essence. And interestingly, the source brings this right back to the corporate world. It says, boardrooms, they're full of players, all engaged in strategy. But the CEO chair, that's almost always held by the player.
And they don't give it up easily.
Not at all. They fight to keep it. Or they maneuver to install a hand-picked successor, a protege, to essentially continue their influence even after they've technically left.
So it really highlights that being the player isn't just about individual skill or smarts. It's that ability to marshal resources, command loyalty, and execute these intricate long-term strategies.
Precisely. It reminds me of that quote the source includes from Jay Samit. No obstacle is so big that one person with determination can't make a difference.
Yeah.
It's that laser focus, coupled with strategic ability to actually make things happen.
Okay, so we have a handle on what the player looks like.
Yeah.
How do they approach disruption? The source talks about finding the crack. What does that actually mean?
It means spotting an opening, a vulnerability, or an inefficiency in the way things are normally done. The author's own story is a great example here. Apparently, when they were just 20, they decided, sort of arbitrarily, that a dentist should retire by 50, so they set this personal target. Retire at 45, giving themselves a 5-year cushion. The dream was Israel or the Netherlands, later shifted focus to the US, and they actually did it, retired by 50, which the source points out was a pretty amazing achievement for a dentist trained in Africa back then.
Huh. So it wasn't about just being a technically brilliant dentist. It was about seeing a different path, one that wasn't the standard route, and then making it happen.
Exactly that. Seeing beyond the day-to-day, envisioning a different future, and then strategically planning for it, sometimes, like way in advance. The source even suggests, if you want to be CEO of a giant company like Microsoft, you have to be ready to outplay other very smart, very strategic people, masterminds and geniuses, as it says. And you need to understand how to, manipulate wealth, the wealthy. It paints this picture of the boardroom as this constant strategic battleground.
And that father and son anecdote you mentioned, that really paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? A CEO setting his son up for an internship at a rival company.
Yes, a rival he fully intended to buy out.
Yeah.
And the CEO of that rival company, his personal friend.
That's bold.
It really shows that strategic, almost detached chess master kind of thinking. The source says when questioned, the father was totally direct. Friendship might get the other CEO a seat on the new board, maybe, but it wouldn't stop the acquisition, even if it meant others lost their jobs in the restructuring. That's just the game, he implied. And he told his son, look, you got the internship on your own merit. But, he added, if you get smart enough, nothing stops him from taking over the more prominent company eventually.
He really emphasized this idea that everything is in the psyche and that your politics must always win.
Politics must always win.
Yeah, it underlines needing a winning manifesto, as the source puts it, and always being aware of what your opponents might be planning. Like he literally asks, do we know what his CEO friend is planning this minute? Constant vigilance.
That's just a relentless, long game perspective. Okay, so being excellent isn't enough. You need that strategy to leverage your strengths, get noticed, and the source says something quite provocative. To prove your uniqueness, you must break some laws. Now, what does that mean? Surely not literal crime. No, that's key. It's almost certainly not advocating literal law breaking in, most professional contexts. It's more metaphorical. It's about identifying the unwritten rules, the norms, the codes of conduct, the standard operating procedures in your field, and figuring out which of those can be bent or cleverly sidestepped or creatively interpreted to your advantage. Finding those codes that are breakable, as it says, so people listen, take notice, and start seeing you as a potential leader, but doing it smartly without crossing actual ethical or legal lines in your specific situation.
So it's about understanding the system so deeply that you know where the flexibility is, where the cracks are in the rules themselves. Which kind of brings us back to the El Chapo tunnel again, doesn't it? The idea that some people working on it might have just thought it was, a construction project.
Exactly. While only the core planners, the funders, knew the real endgame. It implies this master plan with different layers of intention and knowledge.
Requires subtlety.
Yes, and the source makes a really important point here. Your colleagues should not see you as full of evil scheming and meanness. That's crucial. It suggests that a smart player first builds up credibility and trust through just doing their job well, fulfilling routine duties. That competence and trust then gives them the freedom and the opportunity to figure out which laws or norms they can bend safely without raising alarm bells. Strategic subtlety, not overt manipulation.
That makes sense. It also connects to the author's own migration story you mentioned earlier. That wasn't about breaking laws either, but about navigating them very carefully.
Precisely. Their goal was the Netherlands. So they meticulously researched the legal requirements, the costs, the timelines involved. And apparently the project hit major unexpected hurdles. Severe scope creep due to external forces is the phrase used, meaning things got way harder and more complicated than planned.
But they stuck with it.
They never lost sight of the objective. It took 10 years longer and cost more, but they achieved it. And the source uses this to illustrate that for the player, the aim cannot shake, irrespective of circumstances that may threaten its derailment. That absolute unwavering focus on the long-term goal, despite massive obstacles, that's a core characteristic.
So, wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows that becoming the player isn't just about having talent or even working hard and being competent. It's about a very deliberate, multi-layered strategic way of approaching your biggest ambitions, defining that mission clearly, building loyalty, really understanding the game, and then just maintaining this relentless focus no matter what gets thrown at you.
Absolutely. And if you connect it to the bigger picture, it suggests that really significant game-changing achievements, well, they often need that kind of intricate long-term plan. They require a deep grasp of how people work, group dynamics, and the courage to take a path that isn't standard, even if it means challenging how things are normally done. It's really about legacy building, not just isolated successes.
So, for everyone listening, what's the takeaway? The source leaves us with this really powerful, almost confronting question. What is your bomb? The bomb.
Right. So it asks you, what is that single pivotal long-term objective you're aiming for? And maybe more importantly, what are the cracks you can see in the current way of doing things, the openings you could potentially exploit? If you apply the kind of strategic planning, the network building, and that unwavering focus we've been talking about, the focus of the player, something to think about